There's something magical about the drinks we grew up with. They weren't just sodas or juices. They were memories bottled up in glass and plastic. From lunchbox staples to limited edition novelties, each one carried the taste of an errand. When they disappeared, a piece of our childhood went with them. Tonight, we're taking a journey through 25 retro American drinks that vanished from stores. Some you might remember fondly, others you may have forgotten completely. But together, they tell the story of America's changing taste sand, the fleeting joy of flavors that came and went like shooting stars. Launched by Clearly Canadian in 1997, Orbitz was marketed as a texturally enhanced alternative beverage. The drink came in futuristic flavors, with names like Vanilla Berry Nova and Pineapple Banana, Cherry Coconut. But the real draw wasn't tea that tasted, was the suspended gelatin beads that floated like lava lamps inside the bottle. No shaking, no fizzing, just floating magic. Why it mattered was popular. For a brief moment, Orbitz became a cultural sensation. Kids begged their parents to buy it, not because it was delicious, but because it was unlike anything else in the store. It felt like a toy and a drink rolled into one, a collectible that you could actually consume. The packaging alone made it unforgettable, with space-age designs that screamed, "The future is here." Emotional or shocking twist. But the future didn't last long. The taste, described by many as cough syrup mixed with fruit juice, left much to be desired. Sales plummeted within a year, and Orbitz was quietly discontinued by 1998. Today, unopened bottles sell for hundreds of dollars online, sitting on collectors' shelves like artifacts from another world, a reminder that sometimes nostalgia tastes sweeter than the real thing ever did. Smooth transition. And Orbitz wasn't alone. Just a decade earlier, another drink captured hearts with its clear, sparkling purity, till it, too, faded away. Let's step back to the 1980s and revisit the rise and fall of New York Seltzer. Launched in 1981 by two entrepreneurs in California, original New York Seltzer broke all the rules of the soda industry at a time when neon-colored drinks and flashy packaging dominated the shelves. This little brand offered something refreshingly different. Clear, calorie-free sodas, flavored naturally, with bold options like black cherry, peach, vanilla cream, and root beer. It felt like a throwback to the old-world soda fountain, yet somehow modern and cool. Why it mattered was popular. New York Seltzer wasn't just a drink, it was a statement. It appealed to people who wanted flavor without artificial dyes, long before natural became trendy. The small, squat glass bottles looked premium, and the taste had a crisp, authentic quality that stood out against mainstream brands. For many, it became a cult favorite, tucked into lunch bags, after-school snacks, or simply enjoyed on a hot summer afternoon. Emotional or shocking twist. But, despite its loyal following, the brand couldn't compete with the marketing giants of Coke and Pepsi. By the early 1990s, New York Seltzer disappeared from shelves, leaving fans bewildered and disappointed. For years, people would talk about that little clear soda they loved as kids, with no idea it had quietly vanished. Though it made a short-lived comeback decades later, it never regained the magic it once had. Today, for those who grew up with it, just the memory of twisting off that tiny cap brings back the taste of simpler times. Smooth transition. And while New York Seltzer promised purity and simplicity, the 1990s also brought us something flashier and iconic, sparkling drink in tall blue bottles that became a symbol of the decade. Let's take a sip of nostalgia with Clearly Canadian. Introduced in 1987, Clearly Canadian rode the wave of the emerging premium beverage market. Long before LaCroix or flavored seltzers became trendy, this Canadian import offered lightly carbonated, fruit-flavored water that looked and felt upscale. Flavors like orchard peach, mountain blackberry, and country raspberry stood out against the sugary neon sodas of the time. It wasn't just a drink, it was a fashion accessory. Seeing those blue glass bottles lined up in convenience stores felt like stepping into a new era of cool. Why it mattered was popular. In the early 90s, Clearly Canadian was everywhere. It showed up in high schools, college campuses, and even TV shows and music videos. It was the drink you held if you wanted to look stylish and a little more sophisticated than everyone else sipping cola. Parents liked it too. Marketed as a healthier alternative to soda, it became a fridge staple in middle-class households. For many, the crisp fizz and fruity taste was tied to sleepovers, road trips, and afternoons spent hanging out with friends. Emotional or shocking twist, but trends move fast. By the late 1990s, soda giants launched their own fruit-flavored waters, and clearly Canadians struggled to keep up. Distribution waned, and by the early 2000s, it had all but disappeared from stores. Fans mourned its loss for years until, surprisingly, it made a small comeback after a crowdfunding campaign in 2015. Still, for most people, the memory of Clearly Canadian is locked in the 90s. As nostalgic as slap bracelets, blockbuster rentals, and dial-up internet. Smooth transition. And while Clearly Canadian was known for being light, fruity, and sophisticated, the very same decade introduced something much darker, bolder, and ahead of its time. Soda infused with caffeine and guarana that tried to energize a new generation. Next up, Josta. Launched by PepsiCo in 1995, Josta was the company's very first energy drink, though they didn't call it that at the time. Marketed as a high-energy soda, Josta was flavored with guarana, a South American plant known for its natural caffeine boost. At a time when most Americans had never heard of guarana, Josta felt exotic, edgy, and a little dangerous. Its flavor was a blend of fruity sweetness with a slightly bitter, herbal bite that left a lasting impression. Why it mattered was popular. For teens and college students in the mid-90s, Josta was electrifying. It promised energy, stamina, and a rebellious alternative to the colas their parents drank. The commercials leaned into that vibe, often using slogans like "better do the good stuff fast," a not-so-subtle nod to living life on the edge. While Coca-Cola and Pepsi were locked in their cola wars, Josta quietly carved out its own lane, becoming a cult favorite for those who wanted something new, emotional or shocking twist. But Josta was a little too far ahead of its time. The mainstream energy drink boom wouldn't hit until the 2000s, when Red Bull and Monster dominated the market. Josta, meanwhile, was discontinued by 1999, leaving loyal fans bewildered and disappointed. To this day, message boards and petitions call for Pepsi to bring it back. For those who remember it, Josta wasn't just a drink, it was the thrill of discovering something different, something forbidden, something you could brag about having tasted before it disappeared forever. Smooth transition. And while Josta gave us energy, another retro drink of the late 80s and 90s gave us something even better. A splash of neon green slime in a juice box, tied to one of the most beloved movies of the decade. Next up, Icy Ecto Cooler. Launched by Coca-Cola in 1994, Fruitopia was the company's answer to the growing demand for new-age, healthier beverages. Marketed directly to teens and young adults, Fruitopia wasn't just about flavor, it was about attitude. With flavors like strawberry, passion, awareness, citrus consciousness, and raspberry psychic lemonade, each bottle came wrapped in trippy artwork, bold fonts, and even philosophical messages printed on the labels. Coca-Cola spent over $30 million marketing it, placing ads during MTV, sponsoring concerts, and plastering its kaleidoscopic branding across vending machines in schools and malls. Why it mattered was popular. For teenagers of the mid-90s, Fruitopia wasn't just a drink, it was a vibe. It fit right into the world of Doc Martens, grunge music, and the rise of Generation X. You could grab a Fruitopia from a vending machine and feel like you were drinking something artistic, something rebellious, something different. It became a fixture in high schools and college campuses, often paired with the equally quirky snack foods of the decade. Emotional or shocking twist, but despite its heavy marketing push, Fruitopia began to fizzle. By the late 90s, Coca-Cola quietly discontinued most flavors in the US by 2003. Folding the surviving recipes into their Minute Maid line. For those who grew up with it, the loss of Fruitopia felt like losing a piece of youth culture, of fizzy, fruity daydream that vanished just as quickly as it arrived. Today, many remember it as that weird soda with trippy names. A nostalgic flashback to a decade when even drinks wanted to make you think deeper about life. Smooth transition. And while Fruitopia spoke to the dreamers, the very same era introduced a soda that spoke to the rebels, bright, loud, and extreme. Its name was Surge, and it became the drink of a generation of thrill-seeking teens. Do you want me to keep expanding number 7 Surge next, or would you like me to pause here and map out how long the script will run with 25 points at approximately 300 words each, so we can check pacing for the 30 minutes? You said, launched by Coca-Cola in 1997, Surge was created as a direct answer to Pepsi's popular Mountain Dew. But Surge took things up a notch. The formula was loaded with caffeine and sugar, with a citrus punch that was both sweet and aggressive. The marketing campaign leaned heavily into the extreme sports culture of the late 90s: skateboarding, BMX, loud commercials filled with explosions, and slogans like "Feed the Rush." Surge wasn't tea just to drink it. It was an identity for teens who wanted to push limits and rebel against the ordinary. Why it mattered was popular. For a generation of teenagers, Surge became a badge of honor. It was the drink you chugged before video game marathons, late-night study sessions, or just hanging out with friends, trying to see who could stay awake the longest. Schools even banned it in some districts because of its high caffeine content, only fueling the mystique. For many, that bright green liquid tasted like freedom, the wild 90s, in liquid form. Emotional or shocking twist, but as quickly as it rose, Surge crashed. By the early 2000s, health concerns over sugary, caffeinated drinks began to grow. Sales slipped, and by 2003, Coca-Cola pulled it from shelves. Fans were devastated, sparking one of the earliest online nostalgia movements. Save Surge, with petitions, fan pages, and even underground hordes of old cans. After more than a decade of campaigning, Coca-Cola finally brought it back briefly in 2014. But the magic of the original run had already become legend. Today Surge is remembered not just as a soda, but as a symbol of the wild, unfiltered energy of the late 1990s. Smooth transition. And if Surge was Coca-Cola's answer to Mountain Dew, Pepsi had its own bold experimenter, berry-colored soda that split opinions and vanished almost as quickly as it arrived. Next up, Pepsi Blue. Launched in 2002, Pepsi Blue was Coca-Cola's rival to the growing wave of flavored sodas and energy drinks. With its neon blue color and berry-flavored twist, Pepsi Blue was marketed as edgy, futuristic, and designed to capture the hearts of younger consumers. Its rollout was massive. Commercials featured pop culture icons, and it was even tied into sponsorships with pop groups like Britney Spears and Papa Roach, hoping to cement its image as the drink of the new millennium. Why it mattered was popular. For many kids and teens in the early 2000s, Pepsi Blue was a phenomenon. You couldn't miss that bright bottle in vending machines and corner stores. It practically glowed. The taste, a mix of berry and cola, was polarizing, but that only made it more memorable. Some loved its candy-like sweetness, while others swore it was undrinkable. But either way, people tried it. If you had a Pepsi Blue in your hand, you had something to talk about. Emotional or shocking twist. And then, just 2 years later, it was gone. Despite the huge marketing push, Pepsi Blue never caught on the way the company hoped. Sales plummeted, and by 2004, it was discontinued in the US, leaving fans stunned. But here's the twist. While it vanished in America, Pepsi Blue remained available in parts of Asia for years, becoming a cult favorite abroad. When Pepsi briefly re-released it in 2021 for a limited run, nostalgic millennials rushed to grab a bottle, eager to taste their childhood once again. For many, Pepsi Blue wasn't about the flavor, it was about remembering a time when even soda felt experimental, daring, and just a little bit weird. Smooth transition. But while Pepsi Blue was a flash of color in the early 2000s, another soda had already cemented its place in American history. Decades earlier, Pink Can, a first-of-its-kind diet soda, and a true cultural icon. Let's rewind to the story of Tab. Introduced by Coca-Cola in 1963, Tab was the company's very first diet soda. In an era when weight loss culture was booming, Coca-Cola created Tab for calorie-conscious consumers, particularly women. Its name was meant to suggest keeping tabs on your figure. With its saccharin sweetener and distinctive flavor lighter, yet sharper than regular Coke Tab stood out. Throughout the 70s and 80s, it became synonymous with the diet movement and was even featured in movies, TV shows, and pop culture moments. From Back to the Future to Friends, Why It Mattered was popular. For millions of Americans, Tab wasn't just a drink, it was an identity. It was the soda you sipped at the office, at the beauty salon, or in the break room. Its slim can, hot pink design, and advertising campaigns, specifically targeting women, gave it a chic, almost fashionable quality. Loyal Tab drinkers swore by its unique taste, one that was never quite replicated by any of the diet colas that followed. Emotional or shocking twist. But the soda world moved fast. When Diet Coke launched in 1982, it quickly overtook Tab, stealing much of its audience. Still, Coca-Cola kept Tab alive for decades because of its fiercely devoted fans. That devotion lasted until 2020, when the company announced it would discontinue Tab as part of a brand streamlining effort. For many, it wasn't just the end of a soda, it was the end of an era. People who had grown up with Tab, who had watched their mothers and grandmothers sip it from frosty cans, felt a deep sense of loss. Today, Tab lives on only in memory, as a reminder of a time when diet soda was new, bold, and carried a sense of glamour. Smooth transition. And if Tab symbolized the rise of diet culture in America, another drink promised purity, itself a cola, so clear it looked like water, but carried the bold name of Pepsi. Coming up next, Crystal Pepsi. Introduced by Coca-Cola in 1966, Fresca entered the market during America's growing fascination with fitness, diet culture, and international flair. Unlike colas or fruit-flavored sodas, Fresca offered something rare. A grapefruit citrus blend with zero sugar. It was marketed as sophisticated, refreshing, and even a little exotic, perfect for cocktail mixers, backyard barbecues, and trendy households. In the 1970s, Fresca became synonymous with the rise of diet drinks. Long before Diet Coke would dominate the scene, its slim green bottles and stylish advertisements appealed to adults looking for something lighter than the sugary sodas their kids were drinking. Why It Mattered was popular. What set Fresca apart was its sharp, tart taste. It wasn't candy sweet, like orange soda, or syrupy, like Cola. It was crisp, dry, and refreshing. For many Americans, it became the summertime soda, often paired with ice, lime wedges, and outdoor leisure. It also carved out a niche in cocktail culture, mixing beautifully with gin or vodka. For calorie-conscious drinkers, Fresca wasn't just a beverage, it was a guilt-free indulgence. Emotional or shocking twist. But the Fresca of yesterday isn't the Fresca of today. In the early 2000s, Coca-Cola reformulated it, removing the original saccharin-based sweetener and replacing it with newer alternatives. Many longtime fans swore the taste was never the same. And while Fresca still exists, it has quietly slipped into the shadows of Coca-Cola's lineup, often hard to find on store shelves, and remembered fondly by those who miss its original, punchy flavor. For some, cracking open a vintage glass bottle of Fresca would be like stepping right back into a backyard summer of the 1970s. Smooth transition. And while Fresca kept things tart and sophisticated, another soda went in the opposite direction. Bold, hyper-sweet, and neon-colored. Up next, the wild, short-lived ride of Jostuda, first energy soda. Launched by PepsiCo in 1995, Josta arrived during a decade obsessed with extreme sports, flashy advertising, and living on the edge. Unlike traditional sodas, Josta was infused with guarana, a natural source of caffeine used in South America, that gave it a reputation not just as a soft drink, but as a jolt of raw energy. Its red and black cans screamed 90s attitude, and the commercials leaned heavily into edgy graphics, skateboarding culture, and the promise of stamina and rebellion in a bottle. For a brief moment, Josta was the drink of the future. Why It Mattered was popular. Josta mattered because it tapped into something brand new, at a time when the biggest decision was Coke or Pepsi. Suddenly here was a soda that promised more than flavored promised fuel. College students, gamers, and athletes latched onto it, not just for its taste but for its punch. It stood out on shelves because it wasn't pretending to be a cola, a citrus soda, or a fruity knockoff. It was its own category. For Gen X kids, Josta was the kind of drink you bought if you wanted to feel cool, different, and just a little bit rebellious, emotional, or shocking twist. And yet, for all its boldness, Josta was doomed. By 1999, Pepsi pulled it from the shelves, claiming sales just couldn't keep up. But many fans saw it differently. They believed Pepsi gave up too soon, right before the energy drink craze exploded in the 2000s. To this day, nostalgia forums buzz with fans begging for Josta's return, remembering it not just as a soda, but as the drink that could have changed the entire energy drink market before it even began. Josta didn't just vanish, it left behind a what-if that still lingers. Smooth transition. But while Josta was daring and futuristic, another vanished favorite took a gentler approach, comfort in a bottle, with a taste that felt like sitting on grandma's porch. Up next, the creamy, dreamy charm of Nesbitt's Orange Soda. Launched in the 1930s by Hugh S. Nesbitt of Los Angeles, Nesbitt's Orange quickly rose to fame for its authentic, zesty flavor. Unlike many orange sodas that tasted overly artificial, Nesbitt's was made with real California oranges, giving it a fresh, tangy punch that set it apart. By the 1940s and 50s, it was a staple in soda fountains and diners, often poured into frosty glass bottles with its cheerful orange label. Even Elvis Presley himself was said to be a fan, further cementing Nesbitt's place in pop culture. For many mid-century Americans, popping open a Nesbitt's was more than a drink, it was sunshine in a bottle. Why it mattered was popular. Nesbitt's captured the optimism of its era. It wasn't just soda. It was the taste of after-school treats, drive-in movie nights, and roadside gas stations on family vacations. It had a wholesome, all-American vibe that made it a favorite across generations. In fact, before Fanta even arrived in the U.S., Nesbitt's was the king of orange sodas. Its ads promised a big, bold, juicy flavor, and for decades, that's exactly what Americans craved, emotional or shocking twist. But time wasn't kind to Nesbitt's. By the late 1970s, larger soda companies like Coca-Cola and Pepsi muscled into the citrus market with Fanta and Slice, leaving Nesbitt's struggling to compete. Slowly, it slipped away from the mainstream, surviving only in small regional bottlers until it virtually disappeared from American stores. For those who grew up with it, the loss of Nesbitt's wasn't just about a soda vanishing. It was about a piece of summer, a piece of innocence, being bottled up forever. Smooth transition. And while Nesbitt's was all about sweet, sunny memories, the next drink carried a darker kick, one that mixed nostalgia with a bold twist of spice. Get ready to revisit the fiery bite of Dr. Pepper Red Fusion. Launched in 2002, Dr. Pepper Red Fusion was the brand's first new flavor in nearly a century. Imagine the familiar 23 flavors of Dr. Pepper, but now with an added layer of cherry and berry sweetness that gave it a deep, ruby red color. For a brief moment, Red Fusion became the soda everyone wanted to try. It popped up in vending machines, convenience stores, and TV commercials that pitched it as a next generation of Dr. Pepper. The timing felt right. America was embracing bold, neon flavors in everything from candy to sports drinks, and Red Fusion fit the trend perfectly. Why it mattered was popular. For young soda drinkers, Red Fusion felt edgy, different, like a rebellious cousin of the original Dr. Pepper. The flavor was smoother and fruitier, and its striking red hue made it stand out on the shelves. Teens in particular loved it because it felt modern and flashy, while still carrying the respected Dr. Pepper name. For a few summers, grabbing a Red Fusion was like being part of a secret club, something new, something exciting, emotional or shocking twist. But that excitement didn't last. Despite the hype, sales never reached expectations. Some fans felt the berry sweetness clashed with the classic Dr. Pepper flavor they grew up with. while others thought it tasted too much like generic cherry soda. By 2004, just 2 years after its splashy debut, Dr. Pepper quietly pulled Red Fusion from most markets. For those who loved it, its disappearance felt like a cruel tease, like the company dangled a piece of the future, only to snatch it away. Today, Red Fusion lives on only in memories, remembered by a small but passionate group who still insist it was one of Dr. Pepper's best experiments. Smooth transition. And while Dr. Pepper's bold gamble burned out quickly, another soda carried a different kind of cool factor, one that thrived in the surf, skate, and snowboarding culture of the 90s. Let's crack open a can of Surge. Introduced by Coca-Cola in 1997, Surge was designed to take on Pepsi's Mountain Dew directly. With its neon green color, citrus kick, and high caffeine content, it was marketed as the ultimate drink for teens and young adults who lived for action sports and late-night video games. Commercials blasted on TV with slogans like "Feed the Rush," featuring skateboarders, snowboarders, and wild stunts that made Surge feel more like an adrenaline-fueled lifestyle than just a soda. Schools even saw a craze where students would chug multiple cans in Surge challenges, a trend that teachers and parents didn't exactly approve of. Why it mattered was popular. For a short time, Surge became a cultural icon of 90s energy. It was a drink you brought to sleepovers, gaming marathons, and backyard skate ramps. It wasn't just about taste, it was about attitude. Surge gave kids and teens a feeling of rebellion, of being part of a movement that was loud, chaotic, and unapologetically fun. Its bold green color and explosive packaging made it stand out in every vending machine and gas station cooler. Emotional or shocking twist. But despite its cult following, Surge struggled to keep up with Mountain Dew's dominance. By the early 2000s, Coca-Cola pulled the plug, leaving fans devastated. For years, petitions flooded the internet, begging Coke to bring it back. And in 2014, those voices were finally heard when Surge briefly returned through Amazon sales and later in limited releases at Burger King and select stores. While it never fully regained its 90s glory, the fact that Surge could spark such loyalty nearly 20 years after its disappearance proves just how deeply it marked a generation. For many, just seeing a Surge can today is enough to transport them back to the golden days of neon sneakers, PlayStation 1 games, and summer afternoons that felt endless. Smooth transition. But while Surge symbolized youthful rebellion, another drink took a different route, mixing nostalgia, mystery, and just a touch of cult status. Let's step back to a soda that still sparks arguments over its flavor. Mellow Yellow Melon. Introduced in 1985 by the Jolt Company, Jolt Cola was created during the rise of caffeinated beverages and the beginning of the energy drink craze. Its slogan, "All the sugar and twice the caffeine," told you everything you needed to know. The drink was marketed toward students, gamers, and late-night workers, promising a burst of energy stronger than any regular soda. Unlike traditional colas, Jolt became a niche favorite, especially on college campuses and in convenience stores where caffeine-hungry customers craved a punch of alertness in every sip. Why it mattered was popular. Jolt Cola stood out for its audacity. While Diet Coke and Pepsi maintained mainstream dominance, Jolt thrived on being edgy, over-the-top, and unashamedly intense. Its high caffeine content made it perfect for all-nighters, long drives, and video game marathons, essentially becoming a symbol of youthful stamina and rebellion. For a generation of 80s and 90s teens, it wasn't just a soda, it was a rite of passage, a badge proving you could handle the rush. Emotional or shocking twist. Despite its cult status, Jolt Cola's extreme formula and niche appeal limited its long-term success. By 2009, the company quietly discontinued the brand in the US, leaving fans mourning a beverage that had fueled their school nights, gaming sessions, and caffeine-fueled adventures. Today, unopened cans and vintage memorabilia have become collector's items. Jolt Cola remains a symbol of a bold era when sodas weren't afraid to push boundaries, offering a taste of nostalgia that's as electric as it was once caffeinated. Smooth transition. And while Jolt Cola was loud and extreme, another soda charmed Americans in a more playful, candy-like way. Up next, Fanta's forgotten flavors. Fanta was originally created in Germany during World War II, but it became a staple in the US after Coca-Cola acquired the brand. By the 1980s and 1990s, Fanta wasn't just orange, it was an experimental playground for fruity soda flavors. Flavors like pineapple, berry, peach, strawberry, and even exotic blends like fruit punch and tropical twist were released in limited runs. Many of these flavors were regional, appearing only in certain stores or vending machines, which made them feel like secret treasures for those lucky enough to find them. Why It Mattered was popular. For kids and teens, discovering a Fanta flavor beyond orange or grape was thrilling. It was like unlocking a secret level in a video game, something rare, fun, and entirely your own. Collectors and soda enthusiasts would go out of their way to try every new variant, sharing their finds with friends. The colorful cans and bottles themselves were designed to pop, making them as visually appealing as they were delicious. These flavors made Fanta more than a soda. They made it an adventure, emotional or shocking twist. But as Coca-Cola streamlined its product lines in the late 1990s and early 2000s, many of these flavors quietly disappeared. Some were replaced by more mainstream options, while others were discontinued entirely. For a generation of Fanta fans, it was like losing hidden treasures from childhood. Flavors that existed only in memory and the occasional old vending machine ad. Today, finding one of these lost Fanta flavors is a nostalgic thriller reminder that American soda culture was once far more experimental, playful, and unpredictable. Smooth transition. And while Fanta offered fruity experiments, another nostalgic beverage captivated hearts with creamy indulgences, sweet, fizzy treat that defined lunchboxes for decades. Next up, Nehi Cream Soda. Nehi was introduced in 1924 by the Coca-Cola Company and quickly became famous for its wide array of colorful flavors. Cream soda, in particular, captured hearts across the United States. Unlike standard colas, Nehi Cream Soda offered a smooth, vanilla-forward sweetness that seemed luxurious in a world dominated by plain brown sodas. It was often served in classic glass bottles, at soda fountains, diners, and corner stores, making it a quintessential part of American pop culture. Why It Mattered was popular. Nehi Cream Soda's charm lay in its versatility and nostalgia. Kids loved it for its candy-like sweetness. Adults appreciated it as a treat to complement lunch or dessert, and soda fountains relied on it as a reliable crowd pleaser. It wasn't just about quenching thirst, it was about enjoying the ritual. Cracking open a glass bottle, savoring the fizz, and feeling like part of a simpler, sweeter time. Its colorful branding and flavors made it stand out on shelves, often outshining its competitors. Emotional or shocking twist. Over time, the Nehi brand struggled against soda giants like Coca-Cola and Pepsi, and its once ubiquitous cream soda began disappearing from store shelves. While still available in limited regions today, it's far from the nationwide phenomenon it once was. For many who grew up with it, Nehi Cream Soda evokes bittersweet memories, the joy of an afternoon treat and the melancholy of a beloved classic fading quietly into history. Its disappearance reminds us that even the most comforting flavors can vanish with time. Smooth transition. And while Nehi Cream Soda offered creamy sweetness, another vanished favorite shocked taste buds with its extreme tartness and unexpected bite. Next up, Orange. Orangina was created in France in the 1930s and became popular in the US in the 1970s and 1980s as a premium, imported soda. Its signature bulb-shaped bottle, lightly carbonated texture, and real orange pulp set it apart from mass-produced American sodas. Orangina was marketed as a sophisticated, grown-up drink, often appearing in upscale grocery stores, cafes, and specialty shops. It was the beverage you brought home when you wanted to impress, or the one you sipped slowly to feel like you were somewhere in Europe instead of a suburban kitchen. Why It Mattered was popular. Orangina's appeal was in its subtlety and elegance. Unlike overly sweet sodas, it offered a slightly tart citrus bite, delicate carbonation, and a natural, pulpy texture that felt authentic. Teens and adults alike appreciated its novelty and European cachet. For many Americans, trying Orangina was an introduction to international flavors and a small but memorable way to travel without leaving home. Its aesthetic packaging and unique taste made it stand out on store shelves, creating a cult following that lasted decades. Emotional or shocking twist. Despite its loyal fan base, Orangina's presence in the U.S. declined significantly in the 2000s. Distribution became limited, and many consumers didn't even realize it was still available. Its disappearance from mainstream shelves left a hole in the nostalgia of imported sodas, and many remember it as a quirky, elegant treat they could no longer easily access. For those who recall its poke-fleck bottles and subtle fizz, Orangina is a reminder of a time when soda could feel worldly, refined, and entirely unique. Smooth transition. And if Orangina brought a taste of Europe to American shelves, the next soda brought bold flavor, unique packaging, and an unforgettable marketing campaign that captured the imagination of teens nationwide. Pepsi Holiday Spice. Crisp apple cola was introduced in the 1980s by regional soda companies and occasionally produced as a limited edition by larger brands like Pepsi and Coca-Cola. In the 1990s, it was part of a wave of experimental flavors, designed to capitalize on seasonal tastes and novelty trends. With its subtle apple undertone layered over familiar cola sweetness, it offered a crisp, refreshing alternative to standard sodas. Packaging often featured autumn-themed designs, emphasizing the drink's cozy, fall-inspired vibe. Why it mattered was popular. For many, crisp apple cola captured the essence of autumn in a bottle. It became a seasonal favorite at grocery stores and diners, offering a unique twist on the cola experience. Teenagers and adults alike enjoyed it as a limited-time indulgence, a soda that felt both nostalgic and adventurous. Its rare availability added to the excitement, making it a beverage that people would actively seek out each year, sharing it with friends and family during fall festivities. Emotional or shocking twist. Despite its charm, crisp apple cola couldn't compete with mainstream flavors and was quietly discontinued by the early 2000s. Fans were disappointed to lose what felt like a seasonal ritual, a taste of fall that vanished from stores before it could truly become a tradition. Today, its memory evokes autumn nostalgia, reminder that even sodas can capture the fleeting magic of a particular time of year. Smooth transition. And if crisp apple cola brought the crispness of autumn to your taste buds, the next soda took a leap into indulgence. Creamy, sweet, and entirely irresistible. Fanta Vanilla. Fanta Vanilla appeared in select markets during the 1990s as part of Coca-Cola's push to experiment with dessert-inspired soda flavors. By combining the fruity brightness of classic Fanta with the creamy smoothness of vanilla, it offered something entirely new for soda enthusiasts. Its limited release made it feel special, often sold in brightly colored bottles and cans that highlighted the playful, indulgent nature of the drink. Why it mattered was popular. For kids and teens, Fanta Vanilla was like a sweet treat in a bottle, reminiscent of soda floats and ice cream sundaes. Its creamy flavor provided a comforting contrast to tangy or overly sweet sodas, making it a unique favorite among those lucky enough to try it. Limited availability added to its allure, turning it into a coveted seasonal or regional delight. Emotional or shocking twist. Despite its popularity among those who experienced it, Fanta Vanilla never became a permanent fixture. It disappeared quietly from most stores by the early 2000s, leaving fans longing for a taste that reminded them of simpler, sweeter times. Today, it survives in nostalgia forms and memory, representing a brief but flavorful chapter in soda hysteria. Reminder that even small, experimental flavors can leave a lasting impact. Smooth transition. And while Fanta Vanilla brought dessert to your soda, the next drink combined citrus and caffeine into a neon green experience that defined the extreme energy culture of the late 90s. Number 24. Surge Limited Re-Release. After being discontinued in 2003, Surge had achieved cult status. Fans across the internet launched campaigns, petitions, and social media movements begging Coca-Cola to bring it back. In 2014, Coca-Cola responded, making Surge available once again, initially through Amazon, and later at select fast food chains like Burger King. Though slightly reformulated, the re-release tapped into decades of nostalgia and the original 90s energy branding, allowing a new generation to experience the soda's legendary extreme reputation. Why It Mattered was popular. The re-release was more than a soda comeback hit, was a cultural event. Millennials, who grew up with Surge, eagerly stocked up, sharing unboxing videos, taste tests, and memories online. Teens discovering it for the first time were captivated by the bright green liquid and the caffeinated punch. For many, drinking Surge again wasn't just about flavor, it was about reclaiming a slice of youth, nostalgia, and that 90s adrenaline-fueled spirit, emotional or shocking twist. Despite its popularity, the re-release was limited, and shelves often sold out within days. Many fans were thrilled to finally taste their childhood favorite again, but some were frustrated by scarcity, turning the re-release into a collector's phenomenon. Surge proved that a soda could transcend generations, maintaining its legendary status long after disappearing from store shelves. It became a symbol of how memories can keep flavors alive, even when companies discontinue them. Slice was introduced by Pepsi in 1984 as a fruit-flavored soda line, with citrus being the flagship. It was among the first sodas to feature real fruit juice, giving it a tangy sweetness that set it apart from overly artificial drinks. The 1980s and 1990s saw Slice in vivid yellow and orange cans, promoted with quirky, colorful ads that targeted families and teens alike. Its bold flavors and playful packaging captured the fun, experimental spirit of the era. Why It Mattered was popular. Slice offered something rare, a soda that tasted closer to actual fruit than its competitors. Kids loved the bright colors, families appreciated the familiar tang, and teens enjoyed its refreshing taste during summers, picnics, and school outings. It became more than a drink, it was part of daily life, a nostalgic symbol of childhood summers and carefree afternoons. Emotional or shocking twist. Despite its popularity, Slice could not compete with the marketing power of Fanta and other fruit sodas in the 2000s. It was gradually discontinued in the US, leaving fans mourning a simple but beloved flavor that had defined a generation. Today, Slice survives only in memories, vintage ads, and occasional collector bottles. Its disappearance reminds us that even the brightest, sunniest sodas can vanish, leaving behind only the taste of nostalgia. Smooth transition outro, from the neon thrill of Surge to the creamy charm of Fanta, vanilla, and the bold citrus of Slice. These 25 sodas tell a story of America's love affair with flavor, color, and experimentation. Many of these drinks are gone from shelves, but they remain alive in memory, proof that nostalgia tastes just as sweet decades later. If you've enjoyed this journey down soda memory lane, don't forget to subscribe for more forgotten flavors, vintage Americana, and cultural throwbacks. There's a whole world of lost tastes and retro treasures waiting to be rediscovered.